Welcome back to another Linux Gamecast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, Steam threatens CSGO gambling sites with a very, very strongly worded letter, and Starbound exits early access after, that's right, 5 years in development.
Mesa makes it to OpenGL 4.5. Slow and steady. Well, you know, it's there. And Humble gets a little boastful about their fraud protection. But is it all it's cracked up to be?
Undertale is now available on Linux. Too little too late to ride the hype train. And Nvidia saw that I now have a GTX 1080. Best time to announce the new old Titan X? I'm confused.
As is tradition, I'm Vince Stone here at GC Actual, switching the bits, doing this nightmare fuel all under Linux, as we like. Joined every week by the man up north, Master
Oh God, everything's on fire!
It's horrifying, Carl, and all the way from space, Portugal.
It's not on fire, but it's pretty freaking hot.
And joining us every week live, Chatreal Dynamic, filling in the bits and helping us form that special little thing called Cocaine Voltron. Before we get started, we like to see what's going on in each other's life organs. So, well, this week on Vin gets round to watching the shite that people told him last year to watch and he'd really like, but he was like, nah, I'm old and I don't like new things. 12 Monkeys, the TV series on Sci-Fi, which, like, surprisingly does not involve wrestling. Not bad. About 6 episodes into the first series. Bit of alright. Going to continue watching it. So, yeah. What's up, Jay Baby?
Oh, I mean, this week on Jordan, all the technology around him fails in exciting and horrifying ways. So apparently Steam did not want me to log in because it would segfault after I did that. After a long and arduous process of I ended up creating a new account, logging into that, opting out of Steam beta. And then logging back in with my original account, everything worked fine. And then I said, you know what, after all this, I'm going to sit down and watch a movie. Bam, raid failed on my server. So I spent some time rebuilding that. Oh, it's good times. Fun.
Well, I had a pretty interesting Thursday because I'd like to extend a big thank you to Martin Wimpress because he sent me Gigabyte G1 Gaming GeForce GTX 1080. And
DirectX
I'm like,
12.
oh, woo. Yes, DirectX 12 and VR ready. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's got all the flashy bits, including full RGB LEDs on the side, which I cannot control because those tools are not available for Linux. And I ran some benchmarks. You can actually find them on the on ChatRealm static, LinuxGameCast.com. Hit the ChatRealm button, pretty easy. The performance is a bit underwhelming, to say the least.
Well, maybe on OpenGL, right?
Yeah, but OpenGL and all the CPU boundedness, it doesn't help.
Well, one thing that does help us each and every week is the horse bringing us the steamy news.
Yeah, it's the Steam
Lex
Update.
Okay, 23 skin gambling sites. No, that's not the name of my new punk band, though it should be. Spanning casino and sports betting targeted with a cease and desist from the Valves. Okay, so...
Sue them!
You know, the big hubbub in this whole, like, started rolling down the hill organ. It was like, oh, that guy on the CSGO site. And Valve went, oh my God, this is a thing. We had no idea. I was like, right, okay, Valve, stick to that story. And that's basically all they've done. They've sent cease and desist orders. That's it. They're like, hey, come on, stop, or we're totes going to take away your Valve account, you know, your Steams, and you'll have to make a new one. Listen, man, you're talking with people that like to gamble. Maybe not the little kids, but gambling is an actual physical addiction. There are probably people that you work with, your coworkers in your office, that have offshore bank accounts with a few dollars in them so they can gamble on different sites. You're not going to stop this. It's going to keep going. It's definitely a thing. To me, This just comes across as a very empty, like, action threat that Valve has kind of thrown out, because it makes for good PR while they wait for things to blow over and they can get back to business as usual.
No, they have to. They're sort of covering their asses because if this ever escalates to Valve's side, they're the ones providing the platform on which people are using those skins to, then take them to other websites using their API and gamble with them. Yeah,
I mean, it's going to devolve into account whack-a-mole on Valve's part. They really should start, actually, as I screamed earlier, actually start suing some of these people for, and, putting out the word that we will fuck you up. We have lawyers. We will fuck you up if you try this again. But
because just saying, we'll terminate your Steam account. Because they can't just make another free account and fill it up with duplicate Humble keys and spend another, I don't know, $10 or whatever it is to get access to the marketplace again. Yeah, that's really hard.
Speaking of Humble keys, sort of, kind of, not really. This is from PC. This is from PCGamer.com. RimWorld. They recently entered early access, and they said, you know what? Instead of buying the game off Steam and giving Valve their cut, you should just buy it from our website because you can get a Steam key regardless. And so every one of these gray market guys who has a ton of stolen credit cards said, I'll have some of that, and bought a shit ton of RimWorld keys, which caused these guys some issues. So once again, the gray market strikes.
I don't know, man. Definitely what you're saying about that. I mean, this definitely happens, and, a lot of people still run over to G2. They're like, I'll never shop at G2. Oh, that's on sale. I'm going to go buy that. But, you're dealing with kids. It's not a very interesting strategy. Well, they have no impulse control, so you're not going to get away with it. And I think this game retails for like 30 wet, stinky cashes too, man.
Yeah. It's true, but I mean, at this point, you have to. It's this weird moon reality we're in because you have to be cognizant of the fact that if you're buying the discounted game off of G2A or Green Man Gaming or whoever, you're actually hurting the dev more than just straight up going to a torrent site and pirating the game. So I mean, Ben, I know you'll disagree with me, but if you really, really, really have to play this game, this is your life depends on it. The whole purpose of your existence was to play RimWorld. Go pirate the game, and then when you have the money, go buy it. I mean, I've done that. I've purchased a ton of games that I pirated in the past, cleared my conscience a little bit, and I mean, you're supporting the people who are actually making these games, because it's not like EA or Activision or Ubisoft who can afford to take these little hits. These are small mom and pop shops that feel every single one of these fucking credit card fraud transaction things.
Yep.
But speaking of which,
the guys at Humble, which, if you think about it, Humble right now is one of the main sources of resale keys because, you can pay a Steam $1 and you get like 3 Steam keys. Yeah.
Right. And speaking of which, Humble Bundle recently put out themselves a little PSA on their developer blog. Links to this is in our show notes about some of their fraud mitigation steps. They do some stuff like they have Sift Science, which is a purchase analytics framework that that several large established companies use to detect fraudulent transactions. They have some SMS verification stuff, manual review, rate limiting, and having actually worked in the finance industry, I can say with some degree of certainty that these are legitimate fraud mitigation techniques. And I mean, you're doing the best that you can, but unfortunately, we're teetering on the precipice. You're trying to stay ahead of people whose job is to scam these systems and are constantly looking for exploits and ways to do that. But Ben, you seem to. I agree with your point in the show notes about how this is basically trying to cow favor for the Humble service over these other indie game stand, whatever the hell thing.
Well, I mean, it does kind of make sense because back in the billions of years ago in the future's past, back in those days, Humble was notorious. I mean, that's where the bots went, to drop that 1 penny to just a mass amounts of keys, wait, then resell them to whatever. And they have since grown up a bit. They've went from being the lovable, charity. I mean, they're still giving to charity, but there used to be everything cross-platform. And
now they're a storefront.
Yeah, there's a storefront, man. But they're doing some things right. Key cancellation, big thing. That should be a thing with everything. But a lot of these people now are going to places like Indie Gala and other places that don't have these protections in place. Humble is a good idea, but they definitely have a plug. And they're like, I'm a developer. What can I do? And they're like, use us. That's what you can do. Pedro?
Give us all your money.
Yeah, it's humble seeing all the brouhaha going on with Valve and, you know, people redeeming Steam or buying Steam keys from G2A and all the other gray market stores. And they're going like, we're just going to cover our asses and sort of try and explain to people what we do without revealing too much. And according to Jordan, this is a fairly legitimate anti-fraud system, so good on them.
I think it's a great system, and you do have to keep in mind, because there was a huge shitstorm with Descent Underground, the re-imaging.
Yeah.
Because they legitimately sold, I believe it was like Indie Game Stand or Indie Gala, one of those sites.
For like a penny or some shit. 10
well,
cents.
no, it was $1, which the game was retailing for like $30 at the time, but they sold them a block of keys, and it was still in early access, and it still had all this, and you can get that, and everyone had to buy into it. And they released it, and it comes to find out, once they sold that, they don't have any control over it. And they're like, we didn't know when they would sell it or for what price. They never thought in a billion years they would, it would be available.
Specify that in a contract, maybe?
Yeah. Something like that.
It's all about due diligence when it comes down to it.
But this actually happened. I didn't think I'd live to see this day. Starbound 1.0 is leaving orbit, and it's out to like the 3 people that didn't already own it, and they're like, yay. And after 5+ years of deleted saves, you can now play Starbound. But I was reading around, this will be a link in the show notes, what they kind of mean by 1.0 is the game's not finished, guys, but the engine is.
I mean, that's kind of what they did with Minecraft. They got to the point where their engine was stable enough that they could slap a 1.0 on there and continually. They still to this day release updates for Minecraft, adding new content.
And Starbound is nothing if Terraria in space, and Terraria was nothing if not trying to cash in on the Minecraft craze back in 2007.
To be fair, it is a better adventure mode than what Minecraft has to offer.
Yes, it is. But then again, Minecraft, the appeal was always the sandboxy stuff of going around and building stuff. Yeah. But yeah, the Starbound, I guess I'll have to go in and see whether or not it still retains its charm, because I did sink like 8 or 9 hours into it when the first version came out on the Linuxes. So yeah, maybe.
Yeah, roommate loves these types of games, and he's like, hey, I want to play something with you. You want to play Starbound? I'm like, I may have to take him up on that if we're going to throw some chairs once the proper 1.0 comes out.
Yeah, I mean, it'll definitely be a thing, though. One thing I'm definitely worried about is you see games like this, 5 years in development, and you finally get that 1.0 release, and it is met with a resounding, like, you already got it.
Yeah, it's a resounding meh, because they already had their release day.
I mean, it's the perils of early access. You're risking blowing your load a little too early because, this is a cool concept. Everyone buys in, realizes it's not quite finished, puts it away, forgets about it. Hey guys, we released 1.0. I'm on to playing something else right now.
Yeah, and it can be very dangerous, especially for developers. I mean, if you're looking at, this is what I'm terrified is going to be the exact thing that's going to happen to Distance, a racing game that I really enjoy. Is, they're still getting quite a little bit of money from the early access, and it has been in early access, probably coming up in total time, coming up on that 4-year mark. And it really seems like they're riding that until, sales get to point, and they're like, boom, then we're going to release. And I hope to fucking all they've not budgeted anything against what their expected sales are, because they're not going to be there. Because everyone
bought in.
Everyone already has the game that wants it at this point, and basically every review for this game is like, yeah, it's done. They're just adding extra bits to it. So
no, they're taking in the money without getting the criticism because it's early access, bro.
Yeah, well,
yeah, it's early access train. It's hard.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Undertale. Yes, Undertale.
No, Pedro, explain to me. I have not been heard of this anywhere.
Yes, if you haven't been on the internet for the past year, you probably don't know what Undertale is. Because this is the latest indie darling of the entire interwebs.
I love the OS requirement, man. If you could run other games on Steam, it's probably okay.
Yeah. Actually, that's a theme that repeats throughout the entire game. But yeah, the description, the little blurb on Steam is very simple. Undertale, the RPG game where you don't have to destroy anyone. And that's kind of giving it away that you don't necessarily have to kill the stuff you encounter, and there's probably a lot more to it. Can't really say much more without spoiling it, so I'm just going to shut up.
You can date Kate Moss in it now. That's cool.
Yes.
Or the Olsen twins, man. I mean, whatever you're into.
Or Skeletor.
That's one of the big selling points.
There was a hack, because this game was made in Game Maker Studio, much like our good pals with Hyper Light Drifter. And there was a hack that got this working with mono and whatnot, but it's good to see that there's now some official support. And this was the critical darling of RPGs for the past year, like Pedro said. So we're probably going to end up throwing some chairs at it at some point. I know Ven's going to hate it.
I don't know. My biggest contention point with that is this is one of those games that, I mean, because it's been, over a year. The only thing we could add to it as in a full review is like, yeah, it runs. All right, hate mail up next.
You want to see a bit of criticism right here, right now? I am conflicted about this game. As a critic or an asshole on the internet, whichever you prefer, I love this game. It mixes and matches several different genres. Like when you go into combat, it's a completely different genre. When you're looking around and the whole you don't have to fight the enemies thing. Yes, it mixes and matches all those different genres, and if you are to believe the internet, it does so in a way that's the best thing to ever happen to video games since Doom. But speaking of Doom, the graphics and the audio are certainly taken from the same time period, and not as a critic, but as a person who enjoys playing video games, I hate this game. Aesthetically, it's antiquated. Mechanically, it's completely unoriginal. Everything it does has been done before and much better in many occasions. And it spawned a torrent of shitty fourth wall breaking games, which no one remembers anymore.
My one counterpoint to this, and this is a really bad analogy, but you can't say I've tasted lettuce, therefore all salad is kind of meh because lettuce did it better.
Speaking of someone who's recently ingested a lot of salad, it all does taste the same, Brad.
All right, so life is pretty strange around here at LGCW, and it's even more so now that Feral has released Life is Strange, and you can get episode 1 for free. Now, some people have described this game as Tumblr, the video game, and I can sort of see that. There's a lot of non-conformant gender roles and some hipsters and a few other stereotypes that they did a very good job. Admittedly, they did a very good job at portraying them. But yes, you can play the first episode for free. So if you don't want to kick all the, $14.99 because it's 25% off until July 28th. You can actually try the first episode without paying anything. And it was, like I said, ported by Feral. Ben?
Well, we're going to review it.
Yeah, probably. They did send us keys.
Yeah, it's going to happen, guys. I launched it. It's Unreal Engine 3 game, so I was like, this is either going to go this way or this way. There's no happy medium with Unreal Engine 3 games because it's such an ancient engine that has no business being used anymore, but people are like, herp to derp, we're still going to use it.
We paid for that license, damn it.
Pretty damn much. Ran pretty good. I wasn't surprised on the 8150 with a 980. I was getting a solid 60 plus. Everything set on YOLO at 1080. Didn't try it at the 4Ks or UHD, whatever you want to call it. Reasonably threaded well. It hit 2 of the cores and kind of, scattershot the other 6, spreading that out. I got to the point where your protagonist, the young miss, took a selfie with a Polaroid, and I was like, Yeah, what was that? Polaroid 600 or Polaroid 800 film they quit making? What was that, like 6 years ago? You can't really find that. If you do find that, you got to get it on eBay. It's probably going to be bad. So where'd she get that? And then it was like,
look,
all right,
her teacher is totally a hipster.
No.
But yeah,
on my end,
this is very much hipster the game. I mean, so I got a little further than Ven just because I was fucking around. I actually got really good performance on it over here at Team Blue. I was getting 50 plus FPS at UHD. And 120 plus at 1080. I actually started it up. I didn't realize it kicked in at 720 because I'm like, why am I getting 200 FPS on this? Oh, okay. So I mean, I'm getting 120 like plus. Like it doesn't go below 120 with everything cranked up to 11. So it's a pretty solid port.
Yeah, that's an Intel processor.
Like these guys. Even here on Team Blue, it pegs 2 cores, and it if you're watching HTOP while you're playing this game, you can see the Intel scheduler trying so hard to balance all this shit. The game's just like, nope, moving this to a new CPU. Okay, we're going to 100%. Moving it to this guy, 100%.
On my end, it just pegged 3 cores at 100%. The rest of them were like, so what do we do? And if I play it in full screen 1080p, I get 80, 90 FERPs. That's nice. The moment I switch to window mode, and it has 2 window modes, which I have yet to figure out the difference because they don't seem to be any difference. The FERPs come down to like 50, 60, and if I have the goal
hold on, Pedro. This is on the 1080, right?
Yes, this is on a GTX and a 1080. And if I have the goal of wanting to watch a YouTube video on the second monitor, 43 FERPs. That's the best it can do.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that really bugs me is like the opening credits. You get like the freaking hipster emo music. I wish this game had sort of like a. You remember Vice City on Windows? There was a folder that you could cram your music into, and then the game soundtrack would be replaced with your music. I want this entire game set to like fucking black metal. That would be just. I would be able to tolerate the background music, and it is very hipsterish. I'm gonna have to swallow my anti-hipster bile to get through this.
But then again, you're Canadian, and we're on a death road to Canada, apparently. That was a really bad segue, but I'll take it. Control a car full of jerks as they explore cities, recruit weird people, rescue dogs, argue with each other, and face gigantic swarms of slow zombies, randomly generated, for a new story and rare events every time you play. Okay, so it does have a very positive rating on Steam, and as you can see from the trailer there, well, it looks kind of hipster pixely until you go down to the requirements and you realize that it only needs like 50 megs.
Now, Pedro, you have to realize, having seen me over the webcam, all Canadians look like that.
No, the Canadians look blurry. It's kind of like Japanese porn, except less pixely. But yeah, no, it's certainly not cheap for the aesthetics that it's presenting. I'll give it that. But I'll have to thank the fine folks at Rocket Cat Games because they actually sent us key. So thank you very much for that. Chances are we will probably be throwing chairs at Death Road to Canada.
We got a lot of shit to review in August, man. That's going to be
it's definitely stacking up. The one thing about this, great name. You know, I posted that on the Facebooks and the Google Pluses. Like sometimes the name will sell a game. That got a lot of traction. Everybody's like, yes. One thing that made me, kind of a sad panda. I was like, local multiplayer, all right. Local co-op. I was like, Bernate, come on, where's it at? Oh no. But no online co-op because that might have been just a bit of amazing. But this does look like it's done well. Pedro and I did have that conversation. Pedro's like, it looks hipster pixel. It's only 50 megabytes. It's like,
yeah, maybe not that hipster.
Yeah, it's interesting to download a full game and like, all right,
it's done. But just make sure to watch out for that moose man. He's vicious. And that about wraps it up for the Steam Linux update of the week. Coming up next, Pedro's card is immediately trashed just as he got it. Watch him cry. It's going to be hilarious.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is usually where the new segment would start. But before we get to that, there's a lot of people actively giving us money so we can keep doing this. How insane is that?
But you know what's even more insane? There are more people who aren't giving us money because they should all give us money. Give us money now. But if you feel that we do a good enough job that you warrant giving us some money, you can head over to patreon.com/LinuxGameCast. Sign up to help us out. We're inching slowly towards a 175 goal where we get like scheduled weekly streams so you can watch us suck at video games twice a week. It's going to be pretty awesome. We have a little post up there. We're going to talk about it a little later. And we have a brand new Patreon. We'd love to thank Mr. Artix Anon has joined the ranks of the Super Squad. So, and if you don't want to, so Patreon's great because, it's value for value. You only pay per episode. So if we miss a week, you don't have to pay jack shit for that week. But we have our goals. If you don't want to support us on Patreon, we also have some other options on linuxgamecast.com/support-the-chosen. We got Amazon affiliate links, which is basically free money for us, doesn't cost you anything. And we got PayPal donation buttons if you want to go that route and trash your precious like $200,000 Stradivarius.
True story. What's up first?
Up first, we won't be starting with drivers this week, but we'll get to them. Don't you worry. So, XGun give it to you, apparently, because Nvidia, I have released a new Titan X. And you may be saying to yourself, wait, Titan X, wasn't that the Maxwell Titan? Yes, it was. But apparently they had a bit of a bet between Brian Kelleher and Jensen Huang, the CEO, and that they could, go over the 10 teraflops of computing in one single GPU. And apparently, Jensen now owes Brian $1 because they managed to get 11 teraflops in floating point 32-bit.
And you owe Nvidia now $1,200 if you want a piece.
Yes, because the new Titan X, again, why? Is $1,200, and they claim it's about 60% faster performance than the previous Titan X. Confusing naming schemes, people. They're bringing the Shield naming scheme to their GPUs.
Wait, do you mean the Shield, or the Shield?
I don't know.
Well,
there's the Shield. There's the Shield, and there's the other Shield that I don't have right here. But
I mean, they could have gone with the Titan X, the Titan XX, and the Titan XX. Oh wait, no, probably not.
Yes, because was it that much of a problem to call it? I don't know, the Titan P. Okay, maybe not P. The Titan S or the Titan C.
Yes. Look at my Titan C. Look at how girthy and wide it is.
Or
so many PCI lanes.
Just the Titan L. There are 4 consonants in Pascal, which they could have used, and they went with X, like they did with Max.
No. Nvidia, listen to me. I'm going to give this one to you for free. It should say Titan. You need a small little LCD display that just plays the hammer. Can't touch this, doing that little animation right there, because that's effectively what they've done. Because in the show notes, what did you say? I was like, oh, why would they ever release something like this? And I was like, well, NVIDIA releases monsters, behemoths, nightmare fuel like this at such a price so they can, say, well, look how cheap the 1080 is in comparison, guys. I mean, it's practically free compared to that.
Yeah.
That, and it's a very polite way of telling AMD, what I was just saying, hammer dance, can't touch this. Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get why Pedro is so salty. Maybe it's just because he got a 1080 and now there's a better card out that he could have sucked Martin.
No, it's not just that. Nay, it's that he only had that card for 7 hours before NVIDIA dropped the Titan X.
That's true. And of course, Nvidia is a business, ladies and gentlemen. There will always be people with way too much money to just shit out and give away as soon as possible. And who is Nvidia to say no to $1,200 a pop?
But
I mean,
hold on. Now, let's get this straight. 30% better performance or 60% better performance than the old Titan X. I need to fix that in the notes for $1,200.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Isn't the GTX 1070 just? It needs to be faster than the old Titan X, and it sells for about $400 given the current markup.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a 300% price jack for 60% better performance.
It's not for you though. It's for people who have very, very rich parents who don't look at the price tags of things and just swipe their credit cards.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is 100% Nvidia just walking out like they're saying in chat room, mic drop. And they're like, we just did this because fuck you. That's why. What you gonna do about it?
This replaces
we're gonna try and run the new drivers.
What the fuck
on this card?
No, the 950 is no longer the king what the fuck card. It's the new Titan X.
Which I did have like a bit of a personal chuckle because, you know, it was the PS4, the new Xbone one. They were like, ooh, it's going to have 6 teraflops of computing power. And I was like, so like half of a video card? Got it. Right?
Yeah.
Well, the 1080 does have 10. Although Linux doesn't really use it right now, especially not in games. You can check out the benchmarks in the chat realm static.
Those will be a thing, but Team Blue has got some new sauce for us.
Yeah, no, you're a stone's throw away from being able to use the Nouveau drivers with your brand new Titan X. Now, this is from MesaMatrix.com. They track all the Mesa commits. And finally, we have an actual GPU driver. The Intel i965 driver has full OpenGL 4.5 feature complete. This is only on the Broadwell and up IGPs, so it's not for everyone, but it does mean that because, you know, those older IGPs may not have necessarily all the hardware support necessary to support all of the 4.5 features, but it's done. Intel's the first one. NVC0, the new Nvidia driver, and Radeon SI aren't too far behind. My prediction is by about year's end, all the major drivers for like the recent AMD cards and the recent Nvidia cards supported by Mesa will have full OpenGL 4.5, which is nice.
Yep.
Now I think once that's done, I mean, poor Orn and poor my TV box with the shitty little not Caveri APU, but one of the other ones. They really need to maybe focus a little less on the older drivers and focus more on improving the performance of their OpenGL drivers. Because one of the big things is that they're not getting the same performance on average. It's more stable, but it's not as performant as, say, FGLRX when it comes to the newer OpenGL features. And that's really what's holding adoption of Mesa back. And I mean, yes, I'd like to see a push on the OS Vulkan driver development or the open source Vulkan driver development, but OpenGL should be their next big goal, considering that there's a ton of legacy software that people want to play. They might have an old AMD card kicking around. They might just have bought one because it was cheap at the time, or they might have an APU in their laptop. They want to play these games. They'd like to play them at a reasonable frame rate.
Yeah, but just going back to the Intel bits right quick, this only works. You only get OpenGL 4.5 if you have a Gen 8 Plus system. That's Broadwell and up. So Broadwell, Haswell E, Skylake, Broadwell E, and all the other ones in between, the trails, Bay Trails, Cedar Trails, all of those.
So what you're saying is Ben's tablet can't run OpenGL 4.5.
Correct. If you have a Haswell family processor from a way back when, like, you know, Ven's tablet, you still only get OpenGL 4.0. Yeah, you only get OpenGL 4.0 in those. So, yeah.
Well, you know, it's still pretty cool, isn't that right, Ven?
All the way from Team Blue to Team Red. AMD Wraith cooler. It's a review. We actually got some numbers on this little critter. I'm lucky. I thought it was little. Till you see, Jesus Christ, it's huge. If you're playing the home game and if you're listening on audio, you probably know the old FX series coolers, which were
the Dustbuster.
Dustbuster's a decent little piece of kit. Well, you knew you were into a pretty high TDP when you opened the box, and it was like, what is a stock cooler with fucking heat pipes on it? And it was like, oh, you're about to find out. But, you know, that was, I mean, it did its job. It kept it from blowing up. That's about all it did. And Jordan, 100% right on the Dustbusters. When I had that installed on the 8150, I knew we were done rendering because from here in the studio, at least...
The jet engine spun down?
At least 8 meters away from the other side of the kitchen I was in. I could hear, and I was like, all right.
Yeah, that was your big adjustment, too. You were spooked out about how quiet it was.
It is ooky spooky because you know, they're not selling this. We should point that out. This is the pack-in for the new sauce that they're going to be releasing because everyone else that wanted a little peace and sanity in their life has already purchased a Hyper 212 Evo, and those are a bit creepy because you go from that dustbuster to you don't hear fans, you hear air moving, which you do eventually get used to. But yeah, just taking a look at this, it's quite a bit bigger, slightly quieter, cooling performance on par with the 212. Like I was just saying, not necessarily going to be sold separately. You're probably going to see them on the eBays and stuff like that because people are going to be using them for different things. Me personally, I want to slap this thing on an FX 9590 and just watch it smelt it and turn it into a piece of slag.
No, there's a reason they ship those with a water cooler. So, yeah. No, this is like you already mentioned, it's performing on par temperature-wise with the Hyper 212 Evo. That's pretty good. It's pair that with AMD's recent uptick in revenue, and, you know, there's still some hope left.
Yeah, no, but Ben, you're a fan of the AMD lock clip thing. So am I. I honestly, like, billions and billions in R&D, and Intel can't figure out something better than the fucking push and slide lock pins. Those things are miserable because they just break. But, and honestly, like Ben said, this is being packaged with CPUs. I would like a standalone version of this because I might need to replace the heatsink in the TV box soon. It would be nice to be able to slap this in and, you know, without having to remove the entire motherboard to get at the backplate.
Yeah, I mean, the AMD locking system is a brilliant piece of kit once you get over the initial fear of it's going to explode and eat my face the first time you use it because you're like, this isn't right, this isn't right, click. And I was like...
No, and the first time I did that, I literally like went to test it by like yanking on the heatsink, and then pulled the entire motherboard up and like kept it stable. I'm like, damn, it's fixed.
Yeah, no. When it comes to their heatsinks, AMD is always in a good job. Hopefully, they can start doing a good job with their processors now. Please.
Well, how about we do a good job with streaming the games? Yeah,
or not using processors, as it were.
Hey, man, France and Deutschland, you know, we got together, had some sexy time, yeah. I had like a VinMake work thing compile script, and you know, gave it to Frenchie Strider. He's in chat room complaining because he's French. That's just what he does, and. You know, he took it, put a lot of polish on it, a lot of echo les in there, basically. And on top of that, not only does it compile FFmpeg with the NV encoder enabled, it now has the option to build Open Broadcast Studio. So it's all a nice tied up little piece of kit. Now, I know the script I sent him for him to modify worked on 1404, so it should still work. And he knows for a fact that it works on 1604. So you'll be able to get your streaming and gaming on, or at least something to experiment with. But, you know, then again, if you're running Arch, you probably don't need to learn how to build or compile programs or do anything like that because you need someone to do it for you.
Or someone to write a script to do it for you.
Yes. No, but Strider's always been good with us writing down scripts or tutorials and saying, could you, like, put this into Lutris? Because he actually did that with Neverwinter Nights. Yeah, he took that 25-step how-to that I posted a while back, and he managed to make that a one-click install. Kind of awesome.
Yeah, no, and it's a nice thing about Strider is like you can go to him and say something in Lutris doesn't work. Here's what's missing, and he'll be like, okay, give me a minute.
Yeah, this is going to be in the show notes. Completely free, GPL v3. You can fork it, you can spoon it, whatever you want to do to it. Get it, put it in your face. Pretty easy to run. I mean, yeah, fun times and have at. But
speaking of Frenchie,
John Romero.
He has some new
speaking
stuff.
of Frenchie, there's something to be said about preserving video games. You also need to preserve the really bad ones. Yes, it's Daikatana. It's now also a one-click install if you have the GOG version. It's also a one-click install for your Linux box. Yes, experience the cesspool that was John Romero's head back in the day.
And it also comes with some free statically compiled FFmpeg binaries just in a zip file. It downloads along with it too. It's fantastic.
As they often do. Yeah, check out Lutris. Once you get Lutris up and running and figure out like the way it does things, it almost makes half a bit of sense. So, but it's good.
Yeah.
To get stuff like this, you know, with engine reimplementations up and running, and it's going to pull it from GOG. You know, you download it from the GOGs. Seriously, don't ask about how to get it to work with your special copy, because you know what? Fuck off.
Well, I mean, will it work on your original Daikatana CD, Strider? Failed that one and send us some hate.
Yeah, no, he does have both the GOG version and the Steam version. Daikatana's on Steam.
TIL.
Hey, Fridge, you just made you his bitch. What's up next?
Yeah, finally, speaking of engine reimplementations, you might remember a little game called Heroes of Might and Magic. You might have played it on DOS. And apparently, game developers these days just want DOSBox to die in a fire.
Jordan, how can you tell these days? Is that a DOS game or is that a 2016 hipster pixel game? I can't.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
The lines are blurred, man.
Right, but I mean, yeah. This is an engine reimplementation for Might and Magic 4 and 5. So if you've had a hankering to play this and you just don't want to spin up DOSBox because the DOS command prompt frightens and confuses you, like most people, you can check this out. It's still a work in progress, so stuff doesn't really work all that well. But, you know, work continues on it. If you're interested, you can submit some patches, you can fork it. It's on GitHub. The link to it is in the show notes.
I know the last version of DOSBox I used actually gave me a directory command when I typed in ls, so I was kind of happy about that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The DOSBox people are like, yeah, you're just going to be using Linux shell commands, so let's just map them.
Yeah, just alias them. But hey, it's 2016, the year of the open source engine reimplementation. The one thing I didn't enjoy, the one thing I didn't enjoy was Java. It uses Java.
Whatever. If you need cross-platform, Java is a thing to do. And really, do you desperately need performance for fucking Might and Magic, Pedro? Really?
As long as it's not connecting to the internet in any way, shape, or form, I won't mind.
No, it runs Java web apps in your browser. It opens up it has a ported version of IE6 on Linux that it just opens up. Enables ActiveX plugins and runs some Java web apps. Pedro.
Linux.
That's how it works. How dare you question it? The supreme leader's genius. Now this is OpenZine, so check that out. Coming up next, we discuss whether these are tentacles or genticles.
We definitely get very. All
right, the day has come. The day of the tentacle. Wait, that's kind of dirty. Anyways, we're throwing some chairs at it. It's from Double Fine Productions, originally from LucasArts, but they don't exist anymore. So Tim Schafer scooped up all their shit. It's on the Scum engine, the 2009 version of the Manic Mansion. You can pick it up for around 15 of your local currency. And what is it? Dr. Fred's mutated purple tentacle. They have a cream for that, you know. Is about to take over the world and only you can stop him. This is ported by John Bush. It was originally released in LucasArts in 1993 as a sequel to Manic Mansion. It's a mind-bending time travel cartoon puzzle adventure game in which three unlikely friends work together to prevent an evil mutated purple tentacle from taking over the world. Say that 5 times fast. I dare you. I double dog dare you. Like all these Double Fine games, the fine folks at Double Fine did send us some keys for it, so get ready for us to tear into it all legit style. We have the CHAIRQUISITION, which is 1 chair is garbage, 2 chairs is meh, 3 chairs is all right, and 4 chairs is amazing. We also got a categories of doom mixed with the working shiny sounds, controls, and fun. Well, so let's kick this off. Then, did the Scum VM thing work on your Ubuntu box, or is it just too new?
Oh man, it did push it to the limits, Brother Swing. Well, over here on the AMD 8150 octo core, technically overclocked. It's running at 4 gigajoules, but that's kind of like permanent boost mode instead of an overclock. With the 980 displayed with the 4K as well UHD and all that business, it runs all right, as one might expect. Get about 60 FLOPS at 1080 and also at 2160. You know, 3840, 2160. Some people call that 4K mistakenly. Look it up. no complaints. Nothing crashed. Didn't have any issues. There's no resolution options. But then again, it's a Double Fine game, so you pretty much come to expect not full screen, full screen. No issues whatsoever. 4 chairs. Good start.
Yeah, on the now Fedora 24 powered box of business with the i7-6700K and the 980, it ran perfectly fine. I also played a good chunk of it on the new laptop, which has the i7-6700HQ and the GTX 960M, and both of them were way too powerful, and the frame rate went through the roof, and then the game exploded. 4 chairs.
No, it actually wasn't, because it's locked. It's locked at 60, and like Grim Fandango before it, there's absolutely nothing to point out here. These are one of the very few games that where the frame limiting is a good thing. Now, I've already heard the fans on the 1080 scream at the top of its aluminium fins, surprisingly quiet actually, with some of the benchmarks. No need to put more strain on it, rendering Data Tentacle at like 3000 FERPs. So on Fedora 23, 64-bit with the FX8370E overclocked at 4.2 GHz, and the GTX 1080 G1 Gaming, 4 chairs.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that in order to like make the performance seem like the game is actually doing something, they just included a Bitcoin miner for gits and shiggles.
Yeah,
but that's 4 chairs for Mix with the Working. Up next is Shiny and Sounds. Ven, how did the updated art look?
Amazing. Genuinely, it does look amazing. It is 100% a bit of all right, but if we're going to be honest with ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it does kind of look like somebody took an auto-vector convertotron to the original content and scaled it up just a bit. Not saying that's a bad thing in the slightest, but yeah, I'm also kind of just saying, 0 fucks were given with mouth movement and actual audio sync. But, you know, you can hit F1, you can go back and look at the pixelated. Yeah, it's interesting getting old. I'm on the verge of old. You know you're on the verge of old because you know you're about to go do something and it's a bad idea and you still do it anyway. That's how you know you're on the verge. But yeah, that wasn't available in the first one with the pixelated mess. I mean, there's very limited mouth movements, and you're just like, forget about it. You get used to it. That's how things used to rock and roll back in 1993. Again, with the visuals, no issues with the remastered stuff. It just it's very vectory to me in the way that they remastered it. Nothing wrong with it again. However, with the sounds, the audio track, you're listening to it. First of all, I want to say they included the director's commentary. Haven't got a chance to listen to that because I kind of want to go through the game first. And it's going to take me a long time to go through this game because I'm not a damn cheater and I haven't looked up any guides because that's how Vince don't fuck mothering rules, son. But Double Fine located the original masters for the audio. So this thing absolutely 100% makes with the sounds. It sounds fantastic. And if you like audio dialogue, you're in for a treat because, boy, it has it. So for Shiny and Sounds, I mean, and plus, one thing, they did the same thing with Grim Fandango. With this one, you hit F1 and it goes back to the pixelated mess. And like, I don't remember it looking that bad. And he was like, yeah, but that was like an EGA graphics display, Vin. Get off your own lawn. And that definitely happened. But 3 cheers for the Shinies and the Sounds.
Oh man, that voice acting, that's some quality 90s stuff right there before we got actual actors voicing in games. And I mean, so yes, for what it is, the game looks good. The remastered models look infinitely better than the old one. I'm still not blown away. Yes, I realize this is a remastered version of a game that came out in the 90s, but if you're going to release the game now, you kind of have to be willing to judge it by modern standards. If this were just the updated version of the original version, I might be tempted to give it that 3rd chair. Not quite. I mean, everything looks fine. Everything sounds fine. I'm really just not blown away by it, so I'm going to give it 2 chairs because it's kind of meh.
No, it gets bonus points for the remastered audio, definitely. That said, visually, the game is still actively trying to maintain the dithering in the backgrounds and the slow/low frame count animations. this wasn't as glaring when it came to Grim Fandango. Although that game's 3D models on top of the 2D backgrounds were certainly jarring on their own. I guess those are the limitations of having the new engine still be based on the old Scum engine. Maybe it's time to remaster the engine itself. A Double Fine? 3 chairs.
All right, that's 2 chairs for Shining Sounds. Up next is Control. Then
I like this section because it's short and it's sweet, and I get to make sweet verbal love to our good friends at Double Fine. Because you point, you click, and shit gets done. And I mentioned earlier, just a moment ago, F1, you can go back to the original control scheme and how that actually worked. You're like, wow, that's horrible. That's miserable. No. And it really leads you to appreciate the reworked system that they have with the controls for your gerbil. It's nice. Technically, you can play this with a controller. I think Jordan will talk even more because he did a bit of a live stream that Pager and I joined in, and he pulled out his Areola controller and he's like, holy shit, this kind of works. Or it might have been the PS4. Who knows? I forget. But yeah, nothing to knock it on that because it's a point-and-click adventure game. You don't pull out your Nintendo Power Pad and go, this doesn't work. So, yeah, good job on that. 4 chairs.
1 chair, it didn't work with my DDR pad now. That's I mean, it does think that my Steam controller is a PlayStation 4 controller. Ben was half right. Whatever that means. But yeah, you point and you click and you point and you click some more. I didn't tinker with the old controls because why would I? 4 chairs.
Yeah, the whole controller support was a very good surprise. Both the Mistress and the Logitech F310 worked out of the box. If you really need them, then no way you would. But yeah, the biggest surprise, Ven already mentioned this, came when I saw that they give you the old UI with the use, open, close, push, pull, etc., what have you as commands. But they also give you the newer UI, which happens to be very, very similar to that which you found in Broken Age. I'm almost willing to believe the Broken Age Kickstarter was to fuel the R&D necessary for the remasters of their old games, and Broken Age itself was just kind of a side thing.
No,
Tim.
Elijah would beg to differ.
Yeah.
I'm on to you there, Tim. 4 chairs.
Yeah, so we don't want to make the hobbits angry. They're vicious. And they go for the ankles on the crotch. You gotta be careful. That's 4 chairs for Control. Let's wrap this up with fun. Ben, did you enjoy Day of the Tentacle Remastered Edition?
Sit back and relax and get ready to yell at whatever viewing device that you're watching this on, because here's the disclaimer. I never played Day of the Tentacle. Didn't happen. It just flew by my radar, and I was like, okay, never got around to it. It was a DOS game. Probably should have played it. But here's the thing. Old point-and-click adventure games like this, especially in that time, they're hella obtuse. I mean, they require a metric fuckload of time. And unless you're sitting at home on summer holiday or a recent graduate with a degree in liberal arts, you're not going to have that much time to sit and figure this out unless, again, you're cheating, lying. Well, not necessarily lying, but definitely a cheater and looking up guides and stuff like that. That's just, come on. You can do better than that. What is the game? Is it fun? Again, never played it. This is 2016, fresh eyes on it. What is it? 3 people stuck in 3 different times with a very novel time travel mechanic, I guess, for the time. Definitely more of a like Bill and Ted, because you can kind of throw stuff back and forwards and it ages. Don't want to spoil anything. On top of that, you steal things and attempt to use them on other things. That's really what it is. If you hate to boil it down, put it in a sentence, that's what you're doing the majority of the time. But sometimes you got to combine some of your stolen items with other stolen items because, it was 1993 and that was kind of an edgy thing to do back then. Outside of that, it's listening to endless dialogue. Mind you, some of that dialogue still holds up, which I find personally amazing. Well written, and it will get a couple of laughs out of you, no matter how bitter and jaded that you are. And, sometimes, well, all right, here's my strategy for this game. Use all the things on all the things and hope things happen. that's basically it. And I'm sure that was, you know, way back in the day. That would have been like 9 or 10-year-old Vin's strategy of getting this done, because I remember playing other games like Phantasmagoria and things like that. And I was like, combine items, all right, nothing, try this. Got a good laugh, tried the hamster on the guy sleeping in the bed, and dude said, that won't fit. Got a good laugh out of me. Still, that definitely happened.
It's Kentucky jelly.
It was definitely a thing. But a lot of cool things happened in 93 when this game was released. We had our first X-Files TV show, Hadaway's What Is Love came out, Dazed and Confused, the movie appeared, and if we're on the topic of movies, come on, the release of Groundhog Day. Day of the Tentacle, on the other hand, kind of a bit more of a side note at best. I mean, it was a good attempt, but even at that point in time, in 93, the point-and-click adventure game genre had been going on for a while, and it was very much tapering off. It was like, but what about Full Throttle in 99? All right, exceptions are always made for exceptional games, and that was an exceptional game. But like all the movies and the TV shows from 93 that I just mentioned, none of that ever needs to be remastered, and I don't think this necessarily did either. I think the original version still holds up, still maintains its charm, and its pixel goodness. But hey, who am I to say? Again, that's my view from 2016. Two chairs.
Yeah, I never really got into playing point-and-click adventure games. I mean, up until I started doing LinuxGameCast, I think I really only played maybe like one or two sporadically, if at all. One of them was Myst in my therapist's office, and then I went into his office and talked about the trauma that Myst had caused. He also had Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of Atlantis, so I actually played a lot more of that, but I digress. This is definitely a point-and-click adventure game. It operates on, Sierra logic. Unfortunately, I operate on, regular human logic. So a lot of it is just me doing what Ven did and clicking things on other things. And eventually I got to a point where I had to check a walkthrough because I had no idea what the shit I needed to do. And I progressed the plot a little bit. I flushed things down the time toilet. And
in
no
all
one should
fairness,
ever
you
let
were
me
absolutely horrible at point-and-click games.
I suck at them. Like I said, I operate on regular logic. But I actually wanted to see where this is going because you know what? It is a pretty funny game. Some of the dialogue actually got a pretty good chuckle out of me, and for what it is, it's good. It's just not my cup of chainsaw, as it were. I can't really say I hated the game, but much like the leader of the neutral planet, I have no strong feelings one way or the other. Two chairs.
Yeah. So let's talk game genres. Platformers, I've grown tired of. RTS, I hate them with a passion. Sports games, why? Just why? Point and click adventures outside of Grim Fandango, I never really saw the appeal. And Day of the Hentai Sex Instrument is a very good example of that. The game and other LucasArts/Sierra games back in the 90s spawned the video game logic meme before memes were even a thing. At one point, near the start of the game, in order to release one of your characters so you can play as it, you need to paint the kumquats in a tree red, so an NPC thinks that they're another fruit and chops down said tree. Eh? Now, my save game says that I'm 25% of the way through. I don't know how. And they don't call me plagiarism for anything because in one of his zero punctuations, Yahtzee once said that if point-and-click adventure games were a disease, the first symptom would be kleptomania. And because that's exactly what you're doing. Most of the times, you're rubbing, like Ven already said, you're rubbing a stolen thing on another thing to perhaps create a third thing, maybe? Or make a fourth thing happen. Let's go with that. And most of the times when said rubbing does produce an effect other than the refusal of the character you're controlling at the time, I have no idea why it worked. I guess that's kind of how most people did it back in the day, but back then you didn't have the option to hold down the shift key to highlight the interactable stuff. That wasn't there. So I wonder how most people got through it. Two chairs.
Well, I'll tell you how. On your old 640 by 480 screen, you had to click a lot less real estate than on your 2080. I mean, let's be real here. So that's 2 chairs for funny. For funny, yeah, it's really it is pretty funny, I would say. And Day of the Tentacle Remastered Edition walks away with 3 chairs. Final thoughts?
Yep. Let's take a look here. So let's check it out. Listen, I know, like I said, full disclaimer, because I like throwing that in there, because sometimes you get the racist tree commenting on the YouTubes, and like, yeah, you and I just give them the timestamp, and I was like, this is exactly where I said, never played the game before. So, yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily my bag. I'm not bored with it. This is definitely one of those games that I would take with me, stuck on an island with a lappy and pretty decent solar panels and no interwebs, because fuck all, it'll take me a while to finish it because there's a lot of trial and error. I will say this, if you've loved the game, because I got a lot of response when I posted just a screenshot of the G+, it was like, I'm genuinely trying to figure out, use hamster with flagpole. And I was like, well, that didn't work, But tried to figure it out. A lot of people just, kicked in with a nostalgia trip, which is awesome. You're seeing it through that lens. And if you want to bring that back, I think this is a perfect way to do it. It's done well. It runs well. No issues with it whatsoever, technically. But just buy it if you love the game, reasonably priced. But if you're not, I mean, it was like point and click game in 2016. I wonder if that's a good invest. Probably not going to like it. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm going to continue playing it just because it's one of those cultural things that I need to get around to it. Now there's zero excuse. I was like, oh, I got to install DOSBox or just scum and all that. Now it's there, so I have no excuse. I'm going to continue playing it.
Yeah, how much we recommend Day of the Tentacle is solely based on how thick a pair of nostalgia glasses you have on. Because if you are from a newer generation of gamers, you're not going to enjoy it. It operates in 90s adventure game logic, and that is the extreme of the video game logic meme. Considering how obtuse some of the puzzles are, it's impressive that anyone even managed to finish it back in 1993 when the internet wasn't as widespread as it is now. So, yeah, keep that in mind if you are looking at the Steam page for this game.
Yeah, Pedro, your little tentacruel joke was a little unexpected, but Craw, don't think you can get away with it, because I'm on to you. Day of the Tentacle, it is definitely a thing. If you like point-and-click adventure games, pick it up. If you don't, this probably won't change your mind, like Ben said. It is an interesting cultural artifact. A lot of stuff references it, or is referenced by it, and if playing it may enhance other games that you have played subsequently or previously based on that additional context. Point-and-click adventure games aren't really my thing, so I was neutral about it. But yeah, it's reasonably priced. Pick it up. Double Fine's been supporting Linux for a long time, so they deserve your support. Coming up next, we talk about why busted controls means that games suck, and we probe the depths of what constitutes as a heretic purchase.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you know what time it is. It's time for the hate mail. Yes, anything that has a penis on the internet, we're gonna hate on it right now. If you'd like to get in touch with us and have your disparaging remarks about us, our mothers, or our cats, you can go to LinuxGameCast.com, fill out the contact form after you hit the contact button on the navbar. It's pretty easy. If you want to send us some hate mail, pick a Linux Gamecast Weekly off of the little drop-down thingy. If you want to send some feedback for Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays, just make sure to pick that from said drop-down box. And
or send us a message on Patreon.
Yes, if you see the show posted on Patreon, Facebook, Twitter,
or no, you can just direct message us on Patreon. Do it. We will get back to you.
That's actually how one of the hate mails came in this week.
Ooh, yeah. All right. So let's get right into it. I was going to go
ahead and say, as we said this last week, we delivered. I mean, Patreon, you've got to take the time to finance this business and help us out
yeah.
and help us make this.
Yeah,
and
we'll give you the time of day.
Get the gospel of the Linux out to the crowds and the masses.
You get priority alpha.
Pretty much gonna, you got a little bit of a golden ticket, Brad.
Yep. So,
Alright,
first up, Tyler. He's talking about purchases. You mentioned heretic purchases almost every episode, but does it count as one if you get a game for use in one of the engine re-implementations like Morrowind, Quake 1 through 4, Doom 1 through 3? I so far have not gotten a straight definition, so I thought I'd ask. Well, if the engine re-implementation already exists, and I consulted with the chairs on this one, if it already exists, it does not count.
Yeah, I mean, how about by all means go. I mean, if you've been holding off on playing Morrowind because you're waiting for OpenMW to get their shit together, which I mean they're doing it. They're heading towards a 1.0 release eventually. If they don't change, if they don't think on switching frameworks or adding a Vulkan render or some shit like that. But yeah, no. If you're waiting to like buy Jedi Academy or anything like that, yeah, go for it. Go play it. If you're going to play it on Linux, it is not a heretic purchase unless it's
that's
like
general rule of thumb, Organ, on this. I mean, if it has a native launcher, if you can say to yourself, I'm buying art assets.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what you're doing, all day long, man, makes no difference. You can do that. That's great. However, when Open Skyrim comes out, because Skyrim was one of my heretic purchases, once that comes out, I don't get to take off a heretic purchase unless
Skyrim phase, they gotta change it hard.
I mean, it just does not work like that. But don't let something like that cause you to lose control.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
So this is from Mr. Kips or Merkips or I heard you like Mud Kips or something like that. He says we're holding it wrong because in regards to our Brigador review from last week, 0.9 hours on record. Take the time to figure out the controls, and it's pretty obvious why they went with the control schemes that they did. Okay, Brad, listen. As I mentioned in the review, tank controls make sense if you're doing over-the-shoulder type tank gameplay, not isometric. Bad control schemes are bad. Yes, you can learn how to master a miserable control scheme, but that does not necessarily make it good. It just means that you've taken shit and you're able to sculpt stuff out of it. You've turned it into butter because you can make it spread. There isn't any defending it. Brigador's controls were terrible. Terrible.
And he actually had after Ven replied to him, he actually had a bit more to say. Namely, he said that having to take the time to learn something isn't rubbish, but I understand not wanting to play a video game that you're struggling to get the hang of, since that can't be boiled down to struggling to learn how to have fun. The control is great. Oh, it just boils down to learning to have fun, does it? By that logic, I could learn to have fun, while holding my hands under a hacksaw and make a little game of seeing how far the blood would squirt before I passed out. Yeah,
that's way too much fun, man.
No, man. I mean, it's like jabbing a spike into your upper thigh, and it's like eventually, the nerves are going to die. It's going to numb out, man.
You're not going to feel it anymore. Right. Yeah, precisely. Because the moment you pass out, that's pretty fun because you don't feel it anymore. The whole it gets better after a while reasoning always rings of Stockholm Syndrome. If you get kidnapped, after a while it gets better. Mostly because you're no longer feeling scared and miserable. You're just feeling miserable. That's a very apt analogy to Brigador's control scheme.
It is definitely that. Really, that's all you can say about it. Is like what I really took offense to. Not only were the miserable controls, was the developer going, but that's how I envisioned it, and that's the way it stays. And I'm like, well, have fun with that. It's not necessarily going to work out. And what was his name? Merkup?
Did we poop on your favorite game?
I did a little bit of creeping. I was like, all right, let's see who this person is. There was somebody else who, did a Windows review for whatever that's worth of the game. And it was, I skipped through 98% positive. I mean, this guy was like glowing about this game. Had a few little pits and nicks. And guess what? Mr. Kippy Butts went to town on those two little things, man. He was like, how dare you? And the straight white knight Stockholm Syndrome of, you know what? sometimes you need to take a break, go outside, and play in traffic. Okay, up next.
Yeah, we got a final one from Jordan LC, the other Jordan who I'm going to have to kill in order to take his power, because of course there can be only one. So he says, you guys probably heard that System Shock for Linux and Mac got funded. To be honest, I was really hoping that the game would not reach the stretch goal. It is yet another case of the community supporting weak consumer practices instead of supporting developers that already support Linux without trying to squeeze money out of us before they even have a working product, quote unquote. Developer Digital has been really good with the support for Linuxes, and yet they don't get half the attention from our own outlets as this fucking Kickstarter. I guess it just pisses me off. Also, you guys are doing great work. We need more consumer advocates that don't highlight the good and also the bad.
Yeah, this is exactly why we only mentioned their campaign after the Linux demo was out, and even then, Venn made it pretty clear why exactly they released the demo. And I wholeheartedly agree there, Jordan LC. Devolver Digital, Double Fine, Tiny Build, Paradox, Feral, Aspire, they all do amazing work. If people wanted to reward good Linux support instead of only claiming to want to support it, those are the publisher/devs that they should be backing.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, unfortunately, and this is a systemic issue when it comes to Linux support for games, we do have about a decade of bad marketing and FUD that we need to undo. I mean, if you go into Linux support threads for games, you hear devs trotting out the same old tired excuses. People don't really understand how far Linux as a whole has come in the past 10 years. And its user base as well. I mean, again, I upgraded this machine to Fedora 24 like last week. It was painless, no issue. I popped in the USB, away it went, had a working system within 15 minutes. It was kind of brilliant. It's going to be a slow process, though. It's not going to happen overnight. And, you know, thanks for the support. And we really are trying to hold a candle to the people who are doing good and the people you should just not give money to because they're dicks.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely something in bird culture in 2016 is dangling is like, oh, do you run another operating system? Then you must give us extra money because we need, you know, as we always say, go down to the Linux store and buy that Linux box, and that's really expensive, and it's really not. It's not that much. Then you're going to end up with a shit port 9 times out of 13 because they're not going to touch that until well after, if they touch it, well after the main port is released. Carmageddon, come on, that's just never going to happen, guys. I mean, if that happens,
that will eat his arch
vaporware.
I will eat the arch cup. All right, it'll be brilliant, and good times will be had by all. But thanks so much for everyone sending in that hate mail. Send us some more next week. Leave us some comments, however you want to do it, because we need your feedback so we can scream back in your direction. And on that bombshell, let's cue that music, because I'm Vince Stone. On the Twitter nets, if you hit me there, I'm going to hit you back. At least I 100% guarantee I will read it. I might even click that heart thing, even though it's creepy. Plus, Vinstone on the G+. I'm kind of prolific there because I use it as my bookmark site of weird and interesting things.
I'm Jordan Svung. You can find me on Twitter or Google+, supporting terrible development practices by shitty human beings at the Burning Pool, or plus Jordan Svung, respectively.
Ah, yes. I am Pedro Mateos. They don't call me the plagiarism for anything. You can always find me at Unaccounted For on Twitter or plus Pedro Mateos on Circle Jerk, Google+.
And just we do call you plagiarism for everything.
Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, Jordan's 980 on a Skylake processor is still faster than Pedro's 1080.
I know, it's good times.
LGCKs.
Team Blue!
I'm just going to use this GTX 750 Ti.
Put it in your face.
Stick it up your butt.
No. I'm just gonna take it out of the box right now, put it in my box.
Put it in your box, indeed. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Good night. Ended on a high note. 5 dudes.